Good afternoon, everyone. This is Alvin with Fortitude Leadership Academy. I'm here with some of our team. We have Mr. Carlos, we got Mr. Troy, along with Mr. Hutch. We are here today. We're going to talk to you guys about something that's very important, not only to us, but to you guys as well as the community. It's called responsibility. Before I begin, I would like to just let you guys know that we miss you guys. We miss coming into the schools from a physical perspective, but we also have a means to reach you guys virtually. If you guys don't mind, there's a caption, www.i-mentor.org, at the bottom of your screen. Have your mom so get you guys logged in and signed in so that we can communicate. We have several of the gents that are actively using this app. So I want to go ahead and get started. I'm excited. I know these guys are excited. And the word for the day is responsibility. Right, Mr. Hutch? So Mr. Hutch,
That's right.
From here.
That's right. Responsibility. So many memories, team, when it comes to responsibility and how I learned to slowly become a responsible adult over the years. You know, it started out with my parents. You know, my fondest memories are, you know, my parents trying to teach me responsibility. Simple things like, son, make sure you take out the trash on Tuesdays and Fridays. Remember, I need you to wash the dishes. Remember to put all of your dirty clothes in a hamper so that I can wash them for the week. The little things. Son, when you come home, before you sit in front of the TV or before you go out and play football with the other kids, make sure you do your homework. You know, it's just the simple things about responsibility. And those are the things that I remember the most. So before we talk about responsibility, let's talk a little bit about what responsibility is. Bottom line, responsibility is being accountable, keyword accountable, for what you do in your actions and in your behavior. Actions, the things you do, and your behavior, the way you act. Simply put, I think a good way of saying being responsible is caring about what people expect you to do. Responsible is doing the right thing on time, not when you feel it's convenient, but on time when other people expect you to do it, when other people trust and depend on you to make something happen, not 2 hours after, not the next day, not, oh, I forgot. That's not an excuse. And that's also a good example of being irresponsible, not being responsible. So taking care of property, taking care of yourself, taking care of others, all of those are examples of responsibility. You know, basically, what does it mean to be responsible? Having an obligation to do something. What does obligation mean? Obligation is simple. It's an expectation. Expectations are what people expect of you. Everything I talked about a little earlier. Also, having control over something. Like for those of you that get new bicycles on Christmas, or you get a new PlayStation 2 or whatever game that you like the most, you know, you have control over that. When you buy it, your parents work very hard, or your guardians or whomever, they work very hard, and those things aren't cheap. So they expect you to take care of it. So when they buy it for you and they give it to you as a gift, they expect you to have control over it. That means taking care of it, treating it as if you spent your hard-earned money for it, treating it in a manner where it'll last a long time. And then finally, I think, you know, being responsible is care for someone, like a younger sibling, or even an older sibling. You might be the most responsible person of your siblings, of your brothers and your sister, and your parents might need you to look out for them. So for me, that's responsibility in a nutshell and what it takes. And being a Fortitude team member, we talk about responsibility all the time and how it blends with branding, your name. If you're responsible, then your brand, your name is positive. If you're irresponsible or not responsible and people can't depend on you, then your brand needs some work. Mr. Carlos, do you have anything you want to add?
I want to piggyback off what you said, and you said responsibility is the word of the day is being responsible and responsibilities. And when I say responsibilities, I'm not talking about just definition term of responsibilities. I think you covered that well. But when we say responsibilities, we also have levels of responsibilities, and that's expectations, the expectations that your parents, your teachers, and others have of you. So to me, that's being trustworthy, things like that. When you're trustworthy and able to make decisions, then you're being responsible. That is the definition of being responsible, is making decisions, being accountable and trustworthy. And then you can have levels of responsibilities. I'm not going to trust you with responsibilities if I don't think you can handle them. I'm not going to trust you with responsibilities to take care of something like an animal, a little puppy, a cat, or so, if you can't handle it. So those things are being trustworthy, knowing what your level of responsibilities have to be or could be. And that depends on how well you handle your actions. So when I say levels of responsibilities, I don't think parents or teachers or anybody else is going to give you more responsibilities than you can handle. But when they do give you responsibilities based on the level and the age that you're at, then handle those responsibilities.
So Ms. Carlos, when you was talking, I was thinking about when I was growing up in elementary school, I would love for the teacher to choose me to be the one. You know, back during my time, we didn't have the fancy intercoms and all that type of thing. We had to actually send a message to the office by way of a student. And that reminded me of a responsibility when that teacher grabbed you, say, hey, Alvin, would you take this note up to the office, to the secretary's office? Or it could be anything, going to get the snacks, handing out snacks, handing out pencils, the eraser, erasing the board. All those things are really good. And they may be small, but those are some great things that will lead you into being a responsible person. Mr. Troy, where are you, sir? You still here?
I'm still here, Mr.
What's our
Tucker. I'm not
keyword,
going
Mr.
anywhere.
Troy? What's our keyword, Mr. Troy?
Our keyword is no excuses.
No excuses, because we are responsible folks. Hey, listen, that's what I want you to do. If you don't mind, I want you to just talk to the young folks a little bit about some things that they can be responsible. And if you don't, just kind of cater it towards the school, your home, and even the community. What is just a few things that they can focus on in their young time? Now, I just mentioned, you know, how a teacher may send you to the office to send a message or erasing the board, the blackboard and things like that. What are some other things that, some best practices, I guess I would call them, for young people?
Well, first you can start out by being responsible for your own actions. If you say you're going to do something, go ahead and do it. If you're going to commit to something, be fully committed and be energetic about it, be enthused about it. Talking about, we'll go with school first, as being responsible. Make sure your book bag, if you are going to school in person and stuff, make sure your book bag is properly packed. You got your books, you got homework, you have something to write with, scratch paper. That's part of your responsibility. And if you're at home doing online, make sure that your area that you're in is prepared, that you have your paper, your pencils, and you don't have to keep getting up and leaving the screen and acting like you're not really involved and stuff. So those kind of things, your personal actions. Another thing you should be responsible for, are your own possessions. And yes, even though you may not have bought them, they are still yours. So they're yours to keep up with, meaning your clothes, the way you look, your hairbrush, brush your teeth, things like that, that personal responsibility. So when somebody sees you, they can say, hey, that gent, you know that little guy? Yep, he was sharp, looking real sharp. He was nice and neat. Or that young lady, she was looking very presentable. And those kind of things instill trust in other people to say, hey, if they can take the time to groom and look after themselves like that, well, then maybe they can be trusted with some things that I give them. Something that Mr. Carlos said, I want to say something real quick before I forget about it. And that he's talked about the levels, different levels. Well, as we mature, going through elementary, middle school, and so on and so forth, you're going to be hit with more responsibilities until you can prove, I'm sorry, let me back up. You will be hit with those responsibilities. Maturity will allow you to assume more responsibilities. And that means that somebody can trust you more with more responsibilities because you're more mature. How does this affect us in our community? When people see you out in the community, hey, can you go to the store for me? They give you money and you can run to the corner store They trust you. That's a responsibility, depending on your reputation, depending on how you look, and depending on that relationship. So there are a lot of things that that we can be personally responsible for. But the main thing is when you commit to something, when you say you're going to do something, no excuses. And if you fully don't understand it, go ahead and ask for some reassurances. And I guarantee you that person that's entrusting you, they will give you more information so that you'll be more comfortable with that task. So, Mr. Tucker, no excuses.
No excuses. Hey, I like that. You know, actually, this is no excuses really would take us into another area that I want to talk about. But before we go there, speaking of no excuses and also responsibility, I just want to just really thank our teams, Team Ford. When we talk about responsibility, and this is just some of our members here, but we have a wealth of other members as well. But responsibility, this group is very responsible. No excuses, Mr. Troy. I can't say that you guys make any excuses. I think you guys are very responsible. So I believe that we're definitely practicing what we are preaching here today, and which moves us into some characteristics of being responsible. So I can take a look at you guys right now. Just y'all stand up straight, sit straight, Mr. Carlo. So, I can look at these guys right here. So, okay, young people, I know y'all out there. Y'all either, you know, with your moms or your family sitting watching us. Check these guys out right now. These guys are the example of what we're talking about today. Very responsible. So one characteristic is when you agree to do something, always do it. Perfect example. When we say we're going to do something, we come together, we do it. Mr. Troy just said no excuses. We don't make excuses. I remember in college, there was a saying, excuses was tools of incompetence used by non-achievers. We are overachievers. We are moving from good to great. So you don't make excuses. Mr. Hutch and Mr. Carlos mentioned earlier about answering to your own actions. You got to be responsible for what goes on, what takes place, what happens. We're responsible. Goes back to the community. Mr. Troy mentioned that one of the things that you can work on as far as creating responsibilities in your community. We have a responsibility to our community. 42 has a responsibility to the community to reach out to the young people, to go and pay it, what we call that, paying it forward?
Pay it forward.
Paying it forward.
Paying it forward. So
Absolutely.
and doing that, guys, and I've watched these guys, they're very responsible, but I watched some things they pay forward and back to 42, and even encouraging me to get out into the community more to pay things forward. So responsibility in the community is very important. Another thing, a great characteristic is taking care of your own matters. Don't expect someone else to do something that you said you were going to do. Or that you're obligated to do. So let me back that up. Don't expect someone to do something that you plan to do, but not only plan, but obligated to do. One thing you're obligated to do is your homework. You're obligated to do your chores. So don't expect someone to, if you get up in the morning, if you don't have your shirt ironed, your shirt for school, it's your responsibility. Be trustworthy. Allow people to trust that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. Those are just some characteristics that are positive characteristics of being a responsible person. Anybody want to share any, and really the opposites are going to be just the negative piece of that, but anybody want to collaborate on anything that could be a negative responsibility? Hey, we can talk about excuses all day. Mr. Troy, what about an excuse? Have you made an excuse before, Mr. Troy?
When I was a young lad, yes, sure, I made excuses before I matured. We all do. But as adults, as you grow, you know that when you go ahead and you commit to something, it's important. It's not only important to you, it looks favorably on your family also. Because remember, kids, when you step outside, you not only represent yourself, you represent your family too.
Absolutely. Good stuff. So responsibility. That's our key word today. Responsibility. It's a big word. I'm sure it's in your vocabulary. I know we have third grade. Well, we have some kindergartners also, but we have third through our junior high school that are actually participating. But not only that, these are for adults also. because we as adults, responsibility is something key. We have a responsibility to our children to make sure that they're getting a good education and that we're taking care of them at home. I would like for Mr. Carlos and Hutch to kind of talk about some things that children should be mindful of being responsible for as it relates to their home as well as in school, and consider the virtual aspect also, because of course we're, you know, a lot of the students kind of split. You got some students virtual school and then some are still at face-to-face also. So if you guys don't mind, just collaborate on that a little bit.
So keeping your desk and your room clean. So when you're at school, it's your responsibility to keep your desk clean, because, you know, that is definitely a part of being responsible, because at the end of the day, you don't want any distractions. When you're in a class, it's your responsibility to make sure that you minimize distractions. Minimizing distractions are huge in your learning curve. Basically, ignoring people that are shooting spitballs at you. We've all been in school before. Ignoring the guy or the girl behind you playing with your head or slapping you in the back of the head. Ignoring the person across the classroom from you that's making faces trying to get your attention. That is what responsible young adults do. You know, picking up the trash or taking out the garbage, like I mentioned earlier, one of my chores when I was growing up. Those are all things about being responsible. But more importantly, just ignore the name calling, because to me, name calling is one of the things we frown on, and that's bullying, which directly affects something else we also talked about: respect for others and self-respect. And at the end of the day, you know, it's not fortitude. It's not what we do. It's not that, you know, making the right decisions. Mr. Carlos?
I think you covered most of the things that a young student and adult can learn, keeping your areas clean. I think that you need to pay attention. There's some things I would like to add though to that list. You know, we always say that a middle school and a high school student should have a lot of fun, especially like when you're in high school, going on to college. You should have fun. Make it a memory that you should always have. So we always try to encourage the young people, even if you're an elementary school student or a middle school student, is that when you're there, develop some friendships, have fun, you know, be mindful and respectful of others. Those are things that you can learn and carry on into your adult life. There's not just lessons that you can learn when you are in middle school, but those are some of the things you can carry on to college and beyond that. Some other things is be mindful of your friends. Some of your friends that you think are your friends, they don't have your best interests in mind. And some of those friends actually could lead you to make some wrong decisions. So those are some of the things that I think a middle school student or a high school student can definitely carry on into adulthood. And some of those other things are just the opposite. You know, when we say being irresponsible, that's having a messy room, a messy desk, you know, not doing good time management, things like that. We say, you know, be respectful of others. No bullying, no pushing and shoving, no disrespect to the teacher, that type of stuff. Those are some of the things that we encourage all elementary and middle school students and high school students to adhere to.
Mr. Carlos, you know, excuse me, the beauty of it is that we're all growing. You know, when we talk about the negative piece of being the opposite of responsible is being irresponsible, we've all been there at some point. And then sometimes we even after we've learned something, we still may have some characteristics of being irresponsible. But the thing is, we're moving from good to great. And so, and this is an opportunity when we come and sharing this type of information. Hey, it's always, you should start somewhere. So, you know, just listen to what we've said, guys. There may be an area you recognize even now that you've been irresponsible in. Maybe you've been lacking on your virtual school. Maybe you haven't been logging in as you should, or even a parent. Hey, it may be an area where you've lacked in this virtual experience where you may have not monitored your child as you should have. But hey, today is a new day. And what we're going to do is we're going to move from good to great. So we were good at what we did, but we want you to move to great by just making some changes. Just take a look at what you've done, and that didn't work. So let's make this work. So, hey, we appreciate everyone that joined us today. I think responsibility is something that is key in our lives today. Be responsible. Wearing your mask is a responsibility. So we want you guys to mask up and to be safe. Mr. Troy, what would you have to leave with the young people on our way out today?
I have to leave them with this just one thing, besides our no excuses, is that responsibilities and versus irresponsibilities. Just think about it like this. If you're responsible, you'll be rewarded. If you're irresponsible, you will not be rewarded.
You're good. Mr. Carlos?
Yeah, Mr. Avenant, I just want to tell all the young members of Fortitude is that we live by a creed, we live by a pledge, and we teach them to have courage, but we also teach them to respect others and then respect themselves, because then they will go from good to great. So when I say that, you got to take charge of your life. You got to be in charge of your actions, no matter how small they may be, no matter what the task may be. You still have to be in charge of the responsibilities that are given to you. And then you will be trustworthy enough to get additional tasks. And then you will prove to your parents, teachers, and others that he can handle more responsibilities. And that makes good leaders.
Mr. Harry Hutchinson, what you have for us, sir?
Responsibility. And I keep saying it that way because responsibility should be fun. We don't want it to come off like Mr. Carlos saying that responsibility means that, you know, it's all work and no play. Because at the end of the day, what I want to leave you with is being responsible does not mean, and I say it again, does not mean that you can't make mistakes. When you're doing the right things for the right reasons, sometimes things go wrong. But the big part of being responsible is that you don't alibi, like Mr. Troy talked about earlier. You don't make up excuses. No excuses. You own up to it, and then you make the corrections, and you get it done. That means not lying to your parents, not lying to your teachers, not lying to your friends. If something goes wrong, admit it went wrong, and then tell them how you're going to fix it. That is being responsible.
Awesome stuff. But I tell you what, guys, I am encouraged by these young people. I know they're gonna go out and be responsible, because I know the Fortitude kids, the good to great boys, I know that they know this creed. The creed is, I have fortitude, which means I have courage in the face of danger. I can do anything. I am a great leader. I have purpose, and I will succeed in going from good to great. I encourage everybody on this broadcast to go from good to great this week. Hey, we thank you guys for your time. We look forward to seeing you guys soon. Be safe, mask up. Thank you.